Okay, welcome everybody. So just recently, yesterday, we had Tesla
Herbert,
drop three important updates.
your
Hmm.
audio's doubling.
Ah, here we go. All right, well, that was awkward. So what we're going to talk about today is the three important updates. First, in a big change, Tesla announced that the Model 3 long range now qualifies for the full 7,500 federal tax credit in the US. So not only has the Model 3 been completely upgraded just a few months ago, now you can buy this incredible vehicle starting at $39,990 when you include the EV credit. Second, Tesla's filed a lawsuit against its ex-supplier Matthews International. We have Jeff Lutz here, who's an ex-supply chain executive. He knows all about this. They're accusing Matthews of stealing trade secrets related to its battery manufacturing process. And finally, just now, NVIDIA surpassed Microsoft. It's officially the largest company by market cap globally, $3.3 trillion. Elon did suggest that he sees Tesla getting this designation someday. So welcome, Jeff. Let's talk about these three important pieces of news.
Yeah, lots going on actually.
So what did you think about the Model 3, price change that they just discussed there?
Yeah, it looks like that vehicle used to use the cells from LG, the 2170s, and it looks like they've figured out how to either get more production out of Panasonic or out of Panasonic Nevada, and or maybe they're getting more 4680 so they can shift more Model Y over to Austin. There's been some sort of rearrangement where they've been able to move this large volume SKU from Model 3 over to a cell in a pack that qualifies for the credit. So this is an outstanding value for consumers. I'm almost 6'4". I sat inside of the new Model 3. I fit really well, actually. I was surprised. And it is exceptional in person. You have to go to a Tesla, authorized service center or find somebody who's recently purchased it and experience the vehicle. The upgrades are tremendous. The fit and finish is kind of on a different level, especially again at that price tier. So I can't imagine, quite frankly, a better kind of smaller, sportier sedan, below 40,000 than this vehicle. So I think this is going to do really well. In the U.S., the Model 3, all the SKUs were doing 55K or so per quarter. And if you look back at this first quarter, I think the VIN data said we only did like somewhere in the order of 12 to 15,000 Model 3s in North America. So you look at like, oh my God, there's a delivery miss in Q1. Well, normally we're accustomed to 55,000. And I would say on a new product launch, it probably would have stretched up another 10, 12%, 55, 62K. And here we do 12 to 15K. Well, that's a big portion of kind of the Q1 miss. So I think they caught up probably in June production. So I think April and May were still a bit tight, but I think it's really starting to open up, and they've introduced the performance SKU as well. So I think this is going to be really good for North America, and I think they just introduced the performance SKU for China as well. So I think these are going to do well.
Yeah. Okay, so this is from the IRS. You can see here that they've now showing that the Model 3 long range AWD now has a $7,500 credit. Sawyer reported on this, and then Elon said the new Model 3 long range is an amazing car. So Jeff, like when during the earnings call, he said that we think that by Q2 is going to be better than Q1, that we'll still hit our targets maybe by the end of this year. He knew that this was probably coming. I think that this is very big deal, right? I mean, it now sets the Model 3 to be, I don't know, what percentage do you think that the sales will jump? And now he did say the Model Y is not going to have its upgrade this year. What's your thinking about the impact for this?
Yeah, the Model Y, I think, is in its third or fourth production year, and I think their priorities were to get the Model 3 going. And I think they're working on these new lower cost vehicles where again they're going to be taking the modules from the unbox process, pulling them forward in time, and then using them on the existing production capex lines to produce these newer vehicles. I think probably for the first half of next year. I think the Model 3 long range getting this 75. This is material. This is huge. This is a 16% overnight reduction that you get at the point of sale. I was talking about this with a family member actually. They're looking to purchase their next car and they want it to be an EV, and it's really between the 3 and the Y. And I said, hey, the 3's all new, has everything latest and greatest. Model Y is great, great crossover. And if they wanted the 3, but they would want it with the tax credit, and it wasn't there at the time, and now it is. So it's probably going to be the deciding factor for this family member, and for really for many people that were on the fence. $7,500 is 16% overnight. So I think it's a big deal. I think this quarter they should be able to maybe double or triple the output that they had from, at least in North America, for the new Model 3. And we'll have to see how the rest of it goes. And then what's nice to see overseas, in it looks like rates are now, not only have they stabilized, but it looks like some of these countries are starting to cut rates. And they're starting, like, I think overnight the Bank of England said that they met their 2% inflation target already. So these are really important things. This whole thing about rates and access to loans is not only a U.S. issue, it's a global issue. So to see positive movement there, I think is also helpful, not only for the Model 3, but for everything that Tesla sells. So this is a big, again, Model 3 is the number 2 selling vehicle for Tesla, number 2 selling EV overall in the world. So this is a big deal. And
Yep.
the U.S. is obviously one of the biggest regions.
Let's get to the next one, which is this lawsuit. But this is, Tesla North America also said that the Model 3, Model Y, as of yesterday, is no longer going to be able to take advantage of the Clean BC $4,000 rebate in British Columbia. Why did they do that too? The BC government changed their EV rebate. So while the US has finally got it there, BC government said Tesla Model 3 and Y lose their eligibility. So that's the bad news there. Thoughts on why they did that?
No, I actually I don't understand why. And it looks like there was really good momentum occurring, but this looks like it's just, a portion, of Canada, and who knows why? Maybe they could have run out of funds. That's the other thing. Like in Illinois, for example, we have a state rebate of $4,000 for a new EV, but it runs in 3-month increments, and then it stops, and then it restarts when it's refunded, and it runs at various points throughout the year. So it could have been a funding issue. They have to make priority calls. So it's unfortunate, but it's not. That's not all of Canada either. So
Okay. So this one I want to talk to you about because you are kind of the person with the most experience regarding supply chain partners and the lawsuits that go back and forth between them. In this case, Tesla is suing their ex-supplier, Matthews International, over trade secrets around the EV battery trade. A lot of people are asking, Jeff, why are they doing this when they've said that they're not going to patent it? They want to have as many people be aware of this. So they've sued Matthews International for allegedly stealing trade secrets related to Tesla's battery manufacturing process, sharing them with electric vehicle giants' competitors. They filed this lawsuit on Friday, and they said that Tesla's conservatively estimates will exceed $1 billion for misusing company trade secrets. It's related to the dry electrode battery manufacturing technology. Simply a new tactic in their ongoing efforts to bully Matthews and properly take Matthews' valuable IP. Okay. So what did you think about this? So this is Matthews. They were supplying Tesla with this manufacturing machinery in 2019, and then it shared secrets with them. dramatically reduce the size, cost, energy consumption, production cycle time of the battery manufacturing plants while boosting the energy density and power of battery cells.
Yeah. So what commonly happens is when suppliers are working with the number one OEM partner, this is one of the objectives of many suppliers or companies that sell to other companies, business to business, is you want to work with the largest, the best, the most innovative company, because once you get that business award, that there's inherent value that you gain that you can now spread amongst and go to other companies and say, hey, look, I'm in with Tesla. I've got to deal with them. And we're doing, all these wonderful things for them. And the fact that Tesla qualified us means you probably would want to, to work with us, because by definition, everybody else that they're talking to is a number 2, a number 3, a number 4, 5, 6, what have you, in the chain in terms of EV automakers, because Tesla is number 1. So that's the first thing you need to understand, that they have this inherent value of having this relationship with Tesla. Now, people move around, and companies talk, and if there's improper exchange of emails, know-how, or saying, hey, this is how we did XYZ for Tesla, we can do this, we can give this to you. And what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to keep, you have NDAs that are signed between these companies, and you're supposed to keep specific know-how, specific process know-how firewalled between, the two companies working together. And in order to bring up this process at another company, you start now sharing that know-how. This is where it gets tricky. But you start sharing that know-how in order to bring up that process at another company. This is where the challenge comes in. So Tesla has said, hey, you're using the know-how. Who knows what they have? We don't know what's party to the actual lawsuit. We actually don't know all the contents of it. They may have emails. I've seen it before where, there's a smoking gun email of or I've seen it where there's a design file that could be marked, Tesla, and it could be have a secret marking on it. There could be a number of things happening where a design file something floated over that was Tesla property, that was specific to making the Tesla solution, that they needed to bring that solution to another partner. Tesla finds out, they sue them, and they look at the exposure on the lawsuit in terms of what it could mean either to lost revenues for Tesla or what it could mean to gains for that other company. So, this is early days. They launched a lawsuit. There's two sides to this. Both sides should be able to speak out, and I'm sure we'll hear more, in the future.
Okay. So just an hour ago, we had this announcement by Michael Dell. He said, we're building a Dell AI factory with NVIDIA to power Grok for XAI. This is Michael Dell partnering with Elon Musk to build this factory. He's calling it the Dell AI factory. Looks pretty large, lots of information. He shared that photo. So as we look back at some data here, it looks like that this, from what we've said before, this will use NVIDIA's GPUs to power Grok, right? This is XAI's language model. Significant investments in computational resources for XAI. Elon has said in the past that if you look at the companies with the most compute, it's going to be Meta. Then he said number 2, number 3, it's going to be Tesla, then XAI. So this is pretty big. And then let's see, he said this, 2023, he acquired tens of thousands of GPUs. Training the Grok 2 required about 20,000 NVIDIA H100s. And then he said that the Grok 3 model and future iterations would need around 100,000 NVIDIA H100s. This looks like what they're going to put that in. So he's going to have a new supercomputer operational by fall 2025. That was the announcement that they just did about a week ago. That's going to be in Memphis or Nashville. I can't remember now. Yeah, Memphis. Once completed,
Correct.
the interconnected the array of NVIDIA H100 GPUs would be at least 4 times larger than existing GPU clusters today. So this is, this is Dell trying to get out there, be known as a leading place. But partnership with
Yeah.
XAI and Elon, Dell, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. This term AI factory is what they're coining, and they're trying to kind of put kind of a sexy label of building, data centers. Remember, the old data centers were CPU based, and these are the new data centers, GPU clusters. This is the biggest supercomputer in the world. I think it's just worth restating that as planned. This is the biggest one in the world, and Dell is getting half of this business. The other half of the business, in terms of building out the cluster, is with a company called Supermicro Computer, SMC, and so they've got the other half. So Tesla is dual sourcing the work. This is good. It gives, it allows both companies to competitively bid, and but they're both obviously powered by H100s and probably eventually H200s or the B200s, excuse me, from NVIDIA. So this is huge. This is, if you look at what, remember, XAI is building Grok, but it looks like two of the biggest customers for what's being built here are going to be the humanoid robot at Tesla and the Tesla self-driving vehicle and robotaxi. So Tesla is going to benefit, from this work that's happening. And I think the time frame also shows you how long it takes to build these things out. Fall of 2025. You're not just racking and stacking stuff and sliding them into a room. There's a lot of infrastructure that's involved to get the cooling right and to get everything interconnected optically. So this is high tech work that's happening, and Dell's getting half of it, and Supermicro's getting the other half.
Yeah. Elon did reply saying, to be precise, Dell is assembling half of the racks that are going into the supercomputer that XAI is building. They're going to partner with anybody and everybody that they can partner with. That's, if you want to build the biggest supercomputer in the world, it just makes sense though, or it makes me feel good to know that Elon, whether it's XAI, whether it's Tesla, both needs to be the leaders in the space. And it looks like Elon's making moves and he's actually going to deliver on this, right?
Yeah, yeah. And the reason to have two suppliers isn't just for cost. You can have them compete on schedule. You can have them compete on a number of different quality. You can have them speak. There's a number of reasons to dual source. It's a very powerful thing in sourcing and supply chain. So I'm glad to see Tesla doing that here.
What's your thoughts about this? It just happened also yesterday. NVIDIA now is the largest company in the world. They've just surpassed Microsoft, $3.3 trillion. How quickly this happened, right? There's everybody's trading places, and then you've got NVIDIA just skyrocket up here very quickly. Largest company, they're probably going to continue holding that, if not continue to grow, don't you think? I mean, they are the provider of the product that every single company wants. Everybody here are buying like crazy from NVIDIA. But what's your thought of how long NVIDIA will be there? And then when will Tesla start showing up on this list?
Yeah, there were new price targets for NVIDIA that were 200. There's a $200 target that came out this week. That's a $5 trillion company if they get to $200. So just to put that in perspective, I get a little concerned when I look at that list of Microsoft, and you go back to this conversation of AI operations and execution, like how many are actually happening, how are they benefiting society? It's not clear to me yet. I don't know if Microsoft's even broken that out, but they're continuing to grow. But obviously, Elon in his new plan, he's newly energized. He's, the shareholders are behind him, and he's working on Master Plan 4, and he's working on a plan to many X what's up on that list. So, excuse me, I got a cough here for a minute.
Okay. And then you're talking
Sorry.
about Master Plan Part 4, right? And so this happened
Yep.
also, Elon said working on Tesla Master Plan Part 4 is going to be epic. What's your thinking about what's going to be there? Why did he make this announcement just yesterday? It seems like it's going to be part of his new, his new compensation plan. He's now thinking about 10 years. You can hear him talking about this at the shareholder meeting where he's talking about, he's actually calculating what's going to happen, how many bots will there be, what the future is going to look like, what the PE ratio is, what the market cap of company that Tesla will be. What are your thoughts about his forecasts?
He needs to motivate himself, and he has. He clearly has. If you look at his goals for space, and you're creating a civilization on Mars, I mean that's motivating. He's hugely motivated by that, and he's got a tremendous sense of urgency, and that's produced innovations of rocket boosters landing in parallel. That's produced the biggest vehicle to ever go into space and into orbit and then come back, and now back on planet Earth. He needs to motivate himself for the next, call it 5 to 10 years. And if you're a Tesla shareholder, or you follow the company and you like following the work he's doing, should be very exciting for you, because he writes these master plans, I believe, to both motivate himself and create a guiding principles kind of framework for his companies for the next 10 years. And they're going to work together, these companies. And so that's why I believe he's motivating himself, and he's also kind of structuring his work for what he's going to do over the next 10 years. And is everything done in Master Plan 3? No, just getting started. Those two almost had to be a bit in parallel, given the energy requirements needed to power what's happening from a compute perspective for Master Plan 4. And then Master Plan 2, it's really filling out the other remaining vehicle segments. So this is what I think he wants to see the future over these 10-year time horizons. And then he wants his companies to align. He wants to align himself and motivate himself. And I think his comp plan is going to be ultimately aligned with these master plans and objectives. So it's exciting.
Okay, so we've got, hold on, I'm just trying to get this together here.
It's okay, Herbert. Do you want me to sing in the?
We've got, I can't see
What's
this.
that?
I swear. There we go. This is why this is a little harder when you're doing this. So you've got the most likely outcome. This is Elon at Cannes Alliance just this morning. Oops, here we go. Most likely outcome of AI is abundance, where goods and services are available to anyone. There's no shortage of goods and service for anyone on Earth. I've got the video that's about to play here. Hold on, give me a second. Boy, this is just a little bit of getting everything else set here.
Well, I think the abundance, while you're pulling it up, Herbert, when you think about what's happening with labor, what happened with inflation is basically a shortage of labor, both on the goods and the services side, driving up, producing a lack of availability in the beginning. I think the most producing a cost problem right after that. So we'll get into this video and hear what he says.
Yeah, this is his comments.
I think the most likely outcome is one of abundance, where goods and services are available to anyone. There's no shortage of goods and services for anyone on Earth. I think that is the most likely outcome. So it wouldn't be universal basic income, it would be universal high income.
Okay. So you can see that's Master Plan Part 4, right? He's going to talk about abundance. So you got AI, then you got robotics, and the numbers he's talking about is crazy, right? He just said it's 10 times more bots than cars. He said that yesterday talking to NVIDIA. Jensen Huang, who came out and in his video, he said it'll be as many cars as bots as there are cars, and he said no, there's going to be 10 times as many. 2 billion bots at the least. And then we're going to get to the world of abundance. Do you believe this? Do you think that this is right? Is he being exaggerating? Or is this like the vision of the future that's very likely to happen?
I think it is likely because one of the things I study and I teach are cost structures to build electronics, to build devices, and the labor portion of it. It gets turned on its head, and it's not that you're just replacing labor, but humanoids can actually replace the capital that's installed in the factory. So you have a labor efficiency side, you have a capital efficiency side, and if you can build humanoids at the right cost structure, call it around $10,000 or less, and get them to scale, it's going to take a bit to get to that cost structure, by the way. It's not going to happen in the first year. You completely change the cost structure of what devices or goods cost. And remember, an iPhone 1 in its compute capability, and what it costed at launch versus an equivalent device 3 or 4 years later is a fraction of the cost. And now apply this to producing goods, apply this to services. And yeah, I do believe that you will resolve many supply issues and many challenges with supply. And the other thing is, remember, he's democratizing internet as well, and he's creating global availability of internet. I think there's talk of a $42 billion investment in the U.S. for laying copper and doing all these different things for fiber optics for getting internet access to everybody. And meanwhile, he's done this for a fraction of the cost with Starlink. And remember, so now you're going to have to connect all these bots, connect all these vehicles, connect all these AI edge computing devices, and he's creating the infrastructure that could be used to connect a lot of these devices. So yeah, I think an age of abundance is actually coming. I think it's a good way to describe it, because when you get down to the sources of supply, of demand, and you get down to what drives the cost structure and what drives the scarcity or availability of product, it does come down to labor and capital efficiency. And the humanoid is the best combination to kind of solve both of those problems. But there are many problems that need to be solved before a humanoid can have equivalent capability. This is one of the gaps, I think, that is not well understood out there. I think people see the humanoid in the factory, and it's like, for example, in the example that Tesla showed, it's putting the cells into the container and moving on. There's tremendous scaling that needs to occur in terms of capability, in terms of dexterity, in terms of mechanical performance, in terms of reliability. There's tremendous work ahead of Tesla and other companies, again, both on the kind of the physical engineering side as well as on the compute side. But the compute side of it's going to ramp up, I believe, pretty quickly. And I think over a couple of years, I mean, the thing of 1,000 robots in Tesla factories next year isn't. I wouldn't be surprised. It'd be a question of like what the tasks are. The other question would be is how efficient are they? What is their time study look like? What's their yield? So these are the next things to go after and solve, and I think it's going to take a bit of time after that, but it's really exciting. But to get to this end conversation, abundance and solving, everything kind of from a supply perspective and really taking the cost structure down, I agree with that.
Yeah. So just last day, you heard here Elon saying this morning. Yesterday, Jensen Huang was interviewed, and he was saying something very similar. He basically said that humanoid robots will become as common as cars, and there will be significant breakthroughs in robotics in the next 2 to 3 years. We'll play that video. Elon said they'll be 10 times more common than cars. Warren Redlick posted this. There are roughly 2 billion cars on Earth, so that would be 20 billion humanoid robots. And Elon responded to him saying, yeah, that is going to be the case. Let's listen in to Jensen Huang and what he said.
Robotics will be as common as cars are today. You got to imagine what a car looks like 100 years ago on the street. What a strange instrument going down the street by itself without a horse in front of it. And so I think 100 years from now, it's very clear we'll have humanoid robots everywhere. It will likely be the largest volume mechanical system the world makes.
Won't be another 100 years ahead, right? Won't be that long.
The beautiful thing about vision is you start from the future and then you work your way back. It's a lot easier than starting from the present and work your way forward. Because of course, the future is easier to predict. Next week is very hard to predict. Next year is very hard to predict. But long term is incredibly easy to predict. And so I think working our way back is easy. Now the question is, if it's clear, so mundane, so commonplace in 100 years, when would it become quite commonplace now? Well, the world needs a lot more manufacturing capability. The number of manufacturers in the world is quite low. Labor force is quite short. And as a result, we're going to continue to see inflation. There are many things that a robot can make that no humans can make or safely make. And so there are things that only robots should build. And so I think it's very clear that we need to have robotics technology. The challenge, of course, is the technology itself is incredibly hard. A robot that understands the physical world, that understands the laws of physics, that when it sets this down on a table, it won't go through it, that it could set it down and leave it. It has to understand all of these common sense things that children somehow learned over the years. And so we have to teach these things to AIs.
I see.
And of course, the common sense, the ability to understand us, all of that technology is evolving very, very quickly. And I think that over the next 2 or 3 years, you're going to see quite significant breakthroughs.
Okay, so the next 2 to 3 years is going to see significant breakthroughs. You work from the forward and you pull back, trying to make people realize this is coming sooner than you realize. What's your thoughts on what he said?
Yeah, I think, again, I think the closer correlation is not cars, it's mobile phones, tablets, and I do think there's a bit of manufacturing capability that still needs to be developed to be able to produce humanoids. And as Jensen said, there's a lot of engineering work that needs to be done to solve problems for how these things will move about and work in the world, but they will be solved. I think you're going to get to, remember, even if we hit our 2% inflation target, that's inflation. That means goods still cost, on average would cost 2% more, year over year. And you do that, for many years, you take that out a decade, you're still driving the cost structure up of things. So when you hear Elon talk of abundance, you think of Jensen talk about, the possibilities of driving costs down. This is what humanoids can and will do. I think you're going to see massive deflationary pressure, and that's not always good either. That needs to be managed properly. And this is where you talk about universal income, or Elon talking about high income and abundance. So the question is what future ultimately gets created? If this is done well, this is managed well, you'd have high abundance, and you'd have and goods costing less, so what people have in terms of their earnings could go much further and buy more things. So this is one of the most important transitions. This is the most important transition probably that we'll see in our lifetimes. And it's got two of the, I think, the best tech leaders in the world focused on it, between Jensen and Elon. And I think we're in a good place with it. But I just want to remind people that there's a lot of engineering work ahead, and there's a lot of work. There aren't enough manufacturers, I think, to build. You talk about some of the volumes, hundreds of millions of these things. That's tremendous volume to put on one manufacturer. So we're gonna need more manufacturers that are capable of building these things. So there's engineering problems to solve, there's manufacturing challenges to solve, but they will be solved. And this is gonna be an exciting time to live in.
What did you think about this comment from Elon saying that bots will be offered both as rentals as well as to buy, but the former first? So this is the first time he's come out talking about this. Again, whenever you see Elon coming out talking about the details of something, it's starting to feel like it's coming and it's real. Both as rentals. So it's going to be rental first, which most of us were saying. I was certainly thinking that it should be only rentals because of the cost. Then he said something like, we would make it for the cost of 10, eventually sell it for 20. I don't know. Maybe he's talking about that at some point in the future when it becomes more of a commodity. But that seems like they would leave so much on the table if they don't just do it as a rental, per hour labor. What's your what was your expectation? What did you think about this?
Well, I think what you're doing with the rental is you're trying to provide ubiquitous access really quickly, because if you need $20,000, that doesn't scale as quickly as if you're able to lease. So this changes the equation of how these things ramp up. So offering both, I think, is good if a company has a lot of capital and they want to and they want to acquire them and they want to keep them. I would want to be in the rental camp because I think there's going to be tremendous rate of change in the capability of these things, the reliability and the performance of them in the beginning. So I think offering both is a good thing, and it really ultimately depends on your capital position. The rental piece will definitely help enable this to scale quickly. You won't run into as much of of a demand issue in the beginning, because remember, this is going to be a big adjustment when these things start going out in scale. Like this is, it's actually going to start happening. Like, okay, well, if let's just take these 1,000 with Tesla, if they actually get to rated speed and yield in the factory, 1,000 batches will evaporate in the factory, and those people will be out of work. So now scale this over many millions, and what's the impact? So I do think there needs to be flexibility in terms of how the offering goes out, and I go back to, I do think this is much closer, again, to not closer to vehicles, but more closer to cell phones and tablets and smartphones and tablets in terms of manufacturing.
Yeah,
but with
agree.
a much higher level of difficulty.
Right. I think Elon had said something like that regarding cars versus the bots is going to be a lot more complex per, I don't know, square meter or something. I can't remember exactly what he said. But, this is big, important information that they just shared this week. And you've got the Master Plan 4 coming out. You've got the Dell AI, coming out. Compute is important. Then you've got more information about the bots. And it's not just Elon talking about the future now. Everybody's coming out realizing it's much sooner. Breakthroughs is going to happen in 2 to 3 years, according to Jensen Huang. So these are the people that are the closest to us than any of us. They can see it further than we do because they're playing with it, with the compute that they have available in front of them, right?
Yeah, pretty exciting. This is we're the next 10 years are going to be just, I think, unbelievable, both in auto, energy, and humanoids, and just what these language models, on our computers, on our smartphones, on, I think AI edge devices. That's the other thing. There will be, AI powered devices that are not smartphones or computers. So I think it's a pretty exciting time.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jeff. Follow him on X, the Jeff Lutz. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.